Does it really matter where Levi's are made? Does it really matter that when anywhere in the world you see a can of Coca-Cola, they view it as America? I read an amazing analysis on the birth of modern America. And it talked about how the veterans came back from World War II, and it was a combination of things like the GI Bill that opened up avenues for Americans that previously were never there. American soldiers were returning home. Many of them were fighting men, warriors, who saw the worst humanity could throw at them. They fought for freedom, and they brought back skills that you'll never teach in any primary or university campus. The veterans' benefits open up the possibility for the American dream. Over 13 million people, some went to college while others bought homes. The latter opened up businesses, empowered by their newly taught skill sets in things like engineering, auto, air mechanics, all amplified by a newfound grit and determination. We hadn't had that grit and determination since the days of the American pioneers. The U.S. interstate highway system followed just a few years later, and it connected this new era of American pioneers like never before. Go west, young man, was replaced by get your hands dirty, work for what you believe in, improve your community, fix, not replace what's broken. See, there used to be a time when we took pride in the maintenance of America and the maintenance of American heritage. It's exactly what it was. American heritage, American brands like John Deere, Tractor Supply, Ford, Chevrolet, Indian, and Harley Davidson. We took pride in those American brands. I'm not even a motorcycle guy, and I know Indian and I know Harley because they're American. We protected their legacy. We worked on their products in the fields, in our home garages. We made businesses to ensure that they'd continue serving the American public. These were not commodities. They were our livelihood in many cases. They plowed our field and fed our families. They took our kids to school. They were as American as it got. They were symbols of everything we would fight and die for. They were symbols of what we could live for. To the children of some of those returning veterans, how many learned about real American muscle while leaning over the front end of a 1965 Shelby GT or a 69 Chevrolet Camaro or a 1970 Chevy Chevelle? How many learned about the internal combustion engine while Dad tore apart a 1941 Harley Davidson knucklehead? How many assisted your dad to keep the plowing season alive by repairing the family's 49 Model B John Deere tractor? And how many trips to Tractor Supply did it take? No doubt you bloodied a bunch of fingers. You sat in the garage, maybe on the hood or in the field, and dumped about 10 gallons of sweat, but you did it proudly. You listened as your dad or your grandpa patiently said, "There's where the crankshaft is. That's the water pump. That's the alternator. That's the fuel pump. That's the line that goes up to the carburetor." He might have even let you, when you were young, pull on the throttle linkage so you could hear the sound of that engine sing. There was no agenda here outside of pure American greatness. American brands built our country. We relied and depended on them. We built businesses of our own off of them, and we passed that legacy on to our children. It was their birthright, and it created modern America. So why am I telling you all of this? Well, that's something that the elites will never understand. This is why today's corporate DEI craze is such a huge slap in the face. Woke politics have replaced the purity of the American brands that we grew up on. We depended on these products. We built income off of them. We supported our communities with their logos displayed proudly on our barns or on our garages. And the symbols are now being replaced by corporate boards who get their marching orders from people like Larry Fink at BlackRock. All of these companies have been exposed. Robby Starbuck has recently exposed multiple companies for this behavior. John Deere, Tractor Supply. And then the latest is the most American brand as any brand could get. It's Harley Davidson. Can you think of a bigger slap across America's face than Harley Davidson going woke? Harley's one of the brands that helped win the Second World War. The Harley Davidson WLA carried American GIs to war against the Nazis. Then the WLA was brought back to the United States, and a new era of motorcycles were born after the veterans began chopping them up for civilians to use. The chopper was born. And ever since then, veterans returning from war, from the 1940s until the wars today, they all ride on a Harley. It's therapeutic. It helps people deal with what they saw, or as an homage to experience the openness of American freedom. That is the Harley legacy that had been taught and handed down to Harley Davidson riders from father to son, father to son, father to son, since 1903. So what's Harley doing that's so bad? Well, they openly support the Equality Act, which would allow men into girls' bathrooms, sports, and locker rooms. Harley Davidson funded an all-ages pride event that featured a rage room next to the drag queen story time. 1,800 employees had to do virtual training on how to become LGBTQ plus allies. The woke CEO, he signed the CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusion pledge. They made February and March months of inclusion because apparently Pride Month isn't enough. They've included the United Way trainings, which are way woke. They sent some white male employees to a white male only woke diversity training program. They're working to have less white suppliers, dealers, and employees, and the list goes on and on and on. Is that what Harley Davidson stands for? Is that what they want America to become? You know, the purpose of cultural Marxism and progressivism is to destroy what was once great by attacking everything that made it great back at the very beginning. Make America great again. I just don't understand that. When was America great? America was great for most of its life. America is still struggling to be great. But great things happen here every day. One little disconnect at a time from once what made America great. We're seeing it happen now in real time. Woodrow Wilson once said, "The use of a university is to make young gentlemen as unlike their fathers as possible." Did you know that? Did you know that's what a university was trying to do? The 21st century fascists are doing this, one beloved brand at a time. You will heal. You will kneel to us. By and large, the universities are lost. They should be shut down. But that wasn't enough to lose the universities. Then they turned their sights on our children in grade schools. But that wasn't enough either. They go after the heart of American entrepreneurial spirit and the beloved brands that made us who we are today. The brands that we were brought up to love. We learned to see them as icons for what we stood for. But now we're being conditioned to be unburdened. Do me a favor, will you? Do yourself a favor. Do your country a favor. Reconnect your children to the basics of what American products are, what made them so great. Why American made is more than just a slogan. It represents the weary men and women working in factories in small towns all across middle America who are trying to give their kids a better life. It's the dad teaching his kids how to change their own tires and oil. It's the multiple trips to the local parts store and the thrill of victory as the family tractor roars back to life. Teach your kids that getting their hands dirty is a good thing. Something fought, bled, and sweat for has meaningful value. And that's who we are as Americans. It benefits the family. It supports the community. It spreads that beloved American brand all over the country and the world. That connection goes all the way to the top of the corporate boardroom. That connection that you have, that power, that spirit creates, that's what the globalists fear most. Your passion, because your passion has the power to destroy every coercive motive they can ever dream up. It is the same passion that fueled American pioneers. It was carried on to our soldiers in the war against the Nazis, and then drove them to catapult this country into the modern era. That passion, if we find it again, is why they ultimately will lose. That's the passion that they're trying to snuff out. Unburden your family from the unburdening, will you? Teach them the history of what made this country great. If a corporation tries to pervert a beloved American brand, show your kids what made them beloved to begin with. And then show them that sometimes doing the right thing really hurts. And sell your frickin' Harley. Then go replace the alternator of the Chevelle. Explain how Harley Davidson, the engine noise was specifically designed to be iconic. How the crankshaft only has one pin. The arrangement of the cylinders makes the pistons fire unevenly. No other motorcycle sounds the same. Why? Because it's an American motorcycle, the Harley Davidson. It's part of the story. And that right there is why American companies are so beloved, because they're part of our story. And they are dismissing and destroying our story. Reconnect to the stories. Get some oil and grease and brake dust on your hands. Take pride when your kids ultimately cover their faces in it while trying to help you. Passion drives change, and it is your passion that scares tyrants the most.